Smith?
Yes.
He took to Twitter this morning to take a shot at Giants fans. Geno, who infamously replaced Eli Manning midseason for one game before heading back to the bench, wants all the Giants fans to apologize to Ben McAdoo.
That won't happen.
Y'all owe my boy Mac an apology, tweets Geno Smith. 7:30 a.m. this morning. Oh, Geno.
Yeah. You know, somebody threw this out there yesterday. John Gruden has a history of replacing quarterbacks. He had 9 in Tampa. And I'm just throwing this out there. I have not sourced. What if, Derek Carr has struggled, and by the way, Gruden has been incredibly public about his Derek Carr struggles. What if Gruden decided, you know what, we're not a very good football team. I'm going to move Derek Carr to New York for the Giants and get some more draft picks and rebuild this puppy? You're looking at me like I'm crazy. What if the Giants went out and made a big rush on Derek Carr?
I'm trying to let that wash over me.
This is just sports talk at its worst.
You're just completely speculating things.
If you look at what's going on in the NFL, Justin Herbert for Oregon is going to be the number 1 pick. He's a 6'5", 225. He looks like Carson Wentz. He's mobile. He is a tremendous prospect. And the last 13 quarterbacks taken in the first round, Paxton Lynch is a bust. It's getting easier for college quarterbacks to play pro football. That is indisputable. That is inarguable. And so Justin Herbert's number 1. I said this to you yesterday. Who in the NFL, what bad teams in the top 10 need a quarterback? They all just got one, and they're all working. The Giants are one of the only teams out there that, honestly, this morning, if the Giants go 3-10, if there's a team in front of you, I think the Giants have to go for like a Derek Carr, or they have to go for Justin Herbert. They have real questions now.
I would imagine that Giants fans would probably want to go in the draft.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would assume. Because if Derek Carr's not working with John Gruden, I doubt they want Derek Carr. Right. That's no diss to Derek Carr. He's a fine quarterback, but I'm pretty sure they want to build for the future. Just a reminder for Geno, McAdoo ran one personnel package over 90% of his offensive snaps last year, so it's really innovative.
Yeah.
That's why he's not there. All right, sticking with the NFC East, it's time for the Real Deal, brought to you by Carl's Jr. and Hardee's. Carson Wentz could not have asked for a better start for the Eagles' win last night. He finished with 3 touchdowns and no interceptions.
Looked great. And
here's Wentz on the Eagles being back in the driver's seat of their division.
Thought it was huge. Obviously, just first of all, overall, it's a big win for us. NFC East, finally get that conference going. Short week like it was. Cleaned up a handful of mistakes. Obviously, we weren't perfect tonight, but obviously being 3-3 is a heck of a lot better than being 2-4, being 1-0 in the division. There's definitely things we can build on. We can kind of use it as momentum now and kind of point to some things that say, hey, this is who we are. Don't forget that, and then build from here.
I like him so much. There's so much I like. I love his temperament. Somebody told me years ago, the 4 most positions in football, most important, are owner, GM, coach, and quarterback. And if you're an A to an A- in all 4, you can win the Super Bowl. I think the Eagles have an A owner. Howie Roseman's a terrific GM. Doug Peterson surprised me. He's a terrific coach. And Carson Wentz. When you watch Philly last night, listen, they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. That is a well-run organization. They're a little messy at running back. They're not great on the perimeter offensively, but man, they're well-run. At the top, that's a well-run, well-oiled machine.
Philly fans think you don't like them very much.
No, they're listen. Again, if you look around the NFL, owner, Rooney's, Tomlin, they draft well. Ben, that's why the Steelers win the division almost every year. You don't have to be perfect at all of them, but the 4 big positions, Philly's really good at them.
Well, like you said, also, it's time to find out who the real teams are. We just went over who was awesome in September. We'll see what happens now.
Yeah.
So the hype is real. According to Vegas sportsbooks, the Lakers have attracted the most bets to win the NBA championship this season. And the Celtics are the favorite in the Eastern Conference at a close second.
To win the
Celtics
title?
are 5-1. The Lakers are 12-1 to win the title.
So the Warriors, well, that's because the odds, you have to bet too much money to make any money on the
Warriors, yeah.
Yeah. I get the Celtics. I've predicted the Celtics will beat the Warriors because they'll get home court advantage in the weaker East.
You think the Celtics are going to beat the Warriors?
Yeah. No, because I think it's home court advantage. And remember, the East is weaker than the West. And so Boston's
they'll have a better record.
And they're going to try to win games because they know if they get to the finals, they don't want to open a series in Oakland and close it in Oakland. So I think the first 2 games will be in Boston, and the last game will be in Boston, and I think it's a 7-gamer, and I'll take the Celtics.
If everyone is healthy, then I'm with you. But if Boston loses any one of their key pieces, I don't think that they have enough to take on the Warriors. So that'll be crucial.
Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line
Football Morning in America at NBCSports.com. 3-time National Sports Writer of the Year. One of my favorites. He joins us now on a Friday via the Coward Global Satellite Network. Peter King. Peter, I started my show today saying nostalgia is great, but it can be a burden. And the 2 teams in the NFL that look like a mess are the Raiders, who went back into their past to sign Gruden, and the Giants, who are still living on those Super Bowls, and they still stuck with Eli. And that nostalgia in the NFL, Kansas City moved off Alex Smith. You want to move off early, not late, and Alex had a terrific year last year. I look at the Giants as a franchise right now where nostalgia is holding them back with Eli. How do you see it?
We saw it last year, Colin, last December, when Ben McAdoo tried to do the right thing. He was shouted down as an oaf, an idiot, a jerk, a know-nothing coach. What he tried to do is he tried to say, hey, we got a 36-year-old quarterback. There's a huge draft coming up with 4 or 5 first-round quarterbacks in it. We need to see what we have on our bench to see if any of those guys might be the quarterbacks of the future or give us hope that they might be the quarterbacks of the future. And he's shouted down. He's told he's an idiot. It turns out Ben McAdoo, I said it at the time, Ben McAdoo was the only adult in the room last year with the New York Giants. Has anybody been watching this team play since they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl in February 2012? If you've been watching the Giants play, you've seen that Eli Manning, with all sorts of different teams, not teams that can protect very well, I grant you that, but with all sorts of different teams, he's been a subpar NFL quarterback, period. You look at the numbers, you look at the wins. Do you realize, Colin, that since that Super Bowl game was played, since that day that the Patriots lost to the Giants in February 2012, the New England Patriots are 60 games above 500 and have won a playoff game in every season. The New York Giants with Eli Manning are 15 games below 500 and have not won a single playoff game in any season. So, I mean, there's a commonality there, and that is that you can say that, the quarterback gets too much blame when you lose. But the quarterback, basically has not done the job at all with the New York Giants. It's time to move on.
Yeah, it is. And, it's interesting because they had a chance at Darnold. He faces Andrew Luck this weekend, and you live in New York. I saw Darnold play in college. He's the youngest of all the rookie quarterbacks. And I think he can play a little fast and reckless. So I said, I suspect Rosen and Baker are a little older. Baker's got double the college starts, 5 years in college. I think Darnold, I'm seeing exactly what I thought. When he gets a running game and protection, pretty darn good. When he doesn't, he can be reckless. But what if Darnold chops it up this weekend, beats the Colts off the Eli loss? What do you make of this Luck-Darnold matchup this weekend? Your thoughts on it going in? Because I think if Darnold plays well, the heat just gets turned up again on Eli and the Giants.
No question about it. The headline in the New York Post already this morning was, "From bad to hearse." And I just think it's just going to be a lot worse. Obviously, Colin, you've been in this city. And the issue is, a guy like Eli Manning could care less if they burn him in effigy. He's nonplussed by any of that stuff. But the whole point is, last year, what I saw anyway, is that the organization is affected by what is said in the public.
Yeah.
And and is also affected by what is said by veterans around the team. Like, it was almost like the New York Giants Alumni Association all rallied around Eli.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why John Mara and the rest of the organization, Spagnuolo in charge, and he'll play our beloved Eli the last 4 games of the year. a waste of time, a total waste of time, or 5 games, whatever it was. But I'm thinking about this, Colin. I think you're right. People are all going to forget. You played a great clip just then of the crowd when the New York Giants took Saquon Barkley. They went nuts. Everybody was happy. The city was euphoric. You got this great guy. And I think basically now we're going to look back at that moment in history, and especially if Sam Darnold is good for the Jets, and everybody's going to say, because by the time a quarterback gets good, you'll be halfway through the shelf life of Saquon Barkley. Because the Giants are going to be tempted to overuse Barkley.
Yes.
Because he's, as you saw last night, he's their only hope on offense. Even the great $20 million or $19 million Odell Beckham Jr., if you can't get him the ball, how can he be this great, incredible player? So I think you're right. I think the heat does get turned up this week if Darnold plays well against Luck.
I'm not a big award guy. I like college football, but I don't pay attention to the Heisman. NBA Coach of the Year, the rule is you win it and get fired the next year. I'm not an award guy, okay, in my business and other businesses. But I was thinking this morning, Khalil Mack, I could make an argument. Give me 30 seconds here, is the MVP of the league. He's affecting 3 teams. Oakland is a top 6 offense, last in the league in sacks. Khalil Mack's affecting them. Green Bay's quarterback is hurt. There's a reason. It was against the Bears. Khalil Mack's affecting them. And the Chicago Bears lead their division, are now the number 2 defense in the NFL, number 1 in the NFC, number 1 in sacks. He's, I'd argue, not Trubisky, turned around just the energy in the room. I think Khalil Mack, I know Lawrence Taylor gets thrown out. I think you could argue he's an MVP vote getter at this point. Am I nuts?
Not nuts at all. I would have him 4th on my list behind Mahomes, Breeze, Goff in some order. Then I would take Khalil Mack. I agree with you, Colin. And I think the one other thing that he has done, Matt Nagy told me this last week, that he's even affected how they practice.
Wow.
He told me that every day before they go out to defensive team drills, a ball boy will put the ball on the field, and Khalil Mack has started this. They will all race to the football to see who gets there first. There's nothing on the line. So-and-so gets to the ball first. It's a competitive thing. Mack has made mundane practice stuff competitive. And this is something that the Bears had no idea about when they traded for him. If the guy was mute all practice long, they wouldn't care as long as he played. But he's brought something additional to the inside the team stuff that new guys often don't bring because they're sort of walking on eggshells when they get there. Not Khalil Mack.
So it's that time of the year to question whether Jason Garrett will survive. And, Jerry, people are complex. Good people do bad things and vice versa. Jerry can be driven by ego and vanity, but he has often been very supportive of troubled players and average coaches. Jerry's a complex guy to get your arms around. And, I kind of look at Jason Garrett, and I kind of think he likes the fact that Jason Garrett allows him to sit in on film sessions, and Jimmy and Bill Parcells would not. I think Garrett survives unless it's 5-11. What say you?
I think he probably – I don't know that he can survive with a losing record. I think it depends on how well Dak Prescott develops down the stretch. The Cowboys need Dak Prescott to be better than he's been in the last year and a quarter, Colin. He's got to have more of an anticipatory feel, especially on throws down the field. He's got to be more accurate. So that's important, I think, for the future of Jason Garrett. One other thing I would say here, you hit the nail on the head. I've been around the Cowboys a lot over the years, and one of the reasons that Jason Garrett is a good fit, Jason Garrett's dad was a scout for a long time with the Dallas Cowboys. So the family's got a lot of history. And Jim Garrett, who was a great guy before he died this past year, he basically had this thing with Jason where he said, listen, Trust Jerry. He's not going to lead you astray. He's a great guy to work for. I found it. Jason Garrett has really enjoyed working for Jerry, even though he understands that there's some showbiz that's going to happen. And I think the one thing that people don't understand, and I'm not necessarily blindly sticking up for Jerry Jones. People think that Jerry Jones goes in the draft room and says, okay, this is what we're doing. He doesn't do that. They have a meeting of the minds, and, he lost the Johnny Manziel thing. So, obviously they get Zach Martin, and he doesn't throw a tantrum. Yeah. He's not happy, but he doesn't throw a tantrum, and he lets his son and the scouting staff win if they claim that such and such a guy is better. I saw the Dallas Cowboys in the Ezekiel Elliott year in the draft. They gave up trying to get Paxton Lynch. And in that draft, and Jerry Jones was angry. He wasn't happy about it, but he doesn't dictate to this room what they should do. So I think that's a little bit, misunderstood by people. I understand. Everybody wants another general manager, a real GM, a Polian type. I get it. But it's not like Jerry is sitting there being, a dictatorial sort. He listens to people in that room.
By the way, about a minute left here. Patrick Mahomes goes to New England. You lived in Boston briefly. They're 23-0 in the last 23 times they faced a quarterback under 25 years old. There's some magic Sunday night, Foxborough. You've been at those games. It's an incredible TV experience. It's a great fan experience. I like Belichick and Brady Sunday night. I've just seen it too many times, Peter. I've seen it too many times. I've seen Peyton Manning in his prime get unraveled in these big Foxborough games. What do you think happened Sunday?
Well, they had a big Foxborough game on opening night against Andy Reid and the Chiefs opened last season, and they gave up 41 points. They had a big Monday night game in Kansas City a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, I guess now, in game 4 of the season, and they gave up 42 points or whatever. The last 2 regular season games against this team and this coach, and I would argue this year a better quarterback, the Chiefs have manhandled them. So I get it. I get in Bill we trust. I understand that. But I think the Chiefs are a little bit different, Colin.
I can't wait to watch it. Ratings are up around the NFL. It's
going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. Peter King, NBCSports.com. Great talking to you, Peter.
Thanks, Colin.
You bet. Eric Dickerson, Hall of Famer last hour. Plus, one of my favorite games, Monday's Headlines Today with Jason McIntyre. I love that segment.
Very clever.
I love that segment. Our Blazing 5 picks are already in. Coming up next, I don't think we understand how much this player's been given, and I hope this player in the NFL appreciates it. Simply Safe Home Security was created years ago by a couple of college students who got robbed in Harvard, and they couldn't afford a security system, so they started building their own. It's now valued at over $1 billion. The company is called Simply Safe. 5 guys, the founders, have created a company that protects over 2 million people. It's comprehensive protection from intruders, fires, leaks, and burst pipes. Simply Safe keeps working during power outages, downed Wi-Fi, even if a burglar smashed your keypad. The system is incredibly intuitive, easy to use, and it takes about 5 minutes to set up. There are no contracts, never been hidden fees. 24/7 monitoring. It's under $15 a month, $14.99 per month. PC Magazine, The Wirecutter, CNET all call it their top pick for home security. Simply Safe. Go to simplysafecolin.com, simplysafecolin.com.
The challenge is faced.